Okay, well, good morning, 8th grade. I hope you all are doing well. I hopefully will grade your test here in the next few days, but we are beginning a new chapter, and it's 11.1, and it's on square roots. Okay, so if you need to get your book out, which I would, we are now on page, can you believe this, 450. Well done. But we are now on a new lesson, square roots. So the definition here of a square root. So when we have, this is the symbol, if you remember that. So if we have the square root of x, what that means, it is the number, is a number whose product, when multiplied by itself, is x. Okay? So for example, if you guys remember this, right, the square root of 36 is 6. And why is that true? Because 6 times 6 is 36. Another one is the square root of 25. That equals 5. Or the square root of 16. That equals 4. Or the square root of 49. That is 7, right? All of these, it's because this number right here is 5 times 5. This number is 7 times 7. This number is 4 times 4. Okay, that's some review. These are called square roots. They're not very hard. You guys know how to do that, I believe in you. So here we go. Let's do it in example 1. So if you look at example 1, right, we have this is where we have the square root of 25. Well, that's easy, right? That's just 5. But now look at the other example they give you here. They give you the square negative of 49. Now, in this instance, all we do first, and this is going to be super helpful for the whole lesson, you always do what's in the square root first. Okay? Do what's in there first. So you forget about this guy right now. Just leave him alone. So we just have the square root of 49, which is 7. We learned on the last page. Now we drop this negative sign down, and we get negative 7. Do you see we did what was in here first, which was positive 7, but then we had this negative sign on the outside, and so it got dropped down for our final answer to be negative 7. Now, one thing that we can't do, one number that is not real, is if we have the square root of negative 49. This right here is not possible. That's called not a real number. Okay, does that make sense? Why? Think about this. What times what, if we have any two numbers, would equal negative 49? Now think about this. If I made one of these 7s a negative, that would be true, right? That would be true. But this 7, as soon as I make that one negative 2, which I have to do, it becomes positive again. So anytime you have something that's the square root of negative 4, not possible. Anytime it's the square root of negative 13, it doesn't matter if it's a perfect square or not. You can never have this, okay? It does not work. So that's something important to keep in mind, to remember. Okay, moving right along. So if I have negative square root of 64, again, what do I do first? I do what's in here first, which equals 8, and then I take this negative sign and put it there, so my answer is negative 8. Okay, but it's all about the fact that this sign was on the outside. Okay, now, something that's going to be very helpful for you on this homework is page 451, and it's the chart at the top. Okay, the chart at the top is super helpful. It has all of the square roots. Okay, it has 1 through 20 squared. 1 through 20 squared. Okay, super helpful. So if you get confused, turn to page 451 and look at the chart if you get confused on what's happening there. Okay? Now, where this lesson gets a little harder is, we have a square root of 16. That's easy because that's 4. Or the square root of 25. That's easy because that's 5, right? You guys learned that way back. But what happens when we have the square root of 20? Obviously, it's not 4 and it's not 5, which means that the square root of 20 is what we call irrational. Okay, it doesn't end. It's not an exact number. So what they want you to learn to do in this one is to say, if they give you the square root of 20, they want to know what integers, right? You see how this 4 and this 5 are integers? I want to say, where does that fall? Where does the square root of 20 fall? Well, then the way we find that is by looking at what's right below it and what's right above it. So I have 4, square root of 16, right? 16 is right below 20, so I know that it's 4. And 25 is right above 20, so I know that it's 5. So I would say something like this. 4 is less than the square root of 20, but the square root of 20 is less than 5. Okay? Do you see how that works? Not too bad. I'm going to do another example. This is the example in your books. Again, this is example number 2. And they say, where does the square root of 32 lie? Okay, now let's think. Which number is closer to just below 32 that's a perfect square? Well, that would be the square root of 25, right? And then we have the square root of 32. Now, what's just bigger than the square root of 32? Oh, yeah, that's right, the square root of 36. Well, what's this equal? That equals 5, so I say 5 is less than the square root of 32, which is less than, what's this equal? 6. And there is my final answer. Okay? So it's not very hard, you guys. You guys can definitely do that. That's just finding out which one it's between. Okay, now if it's a negative number, so let's do this real quickly. If it's, what is about this one? This negative 18. Now notice the negative is outside, so we first find, we forget about this, okay? So we can kind of block this out of our minds right now. Just kind of leave him alone. We focus on the 18. So we have the square root of 18, and we say, what is to the left of that? What is to the right of that? Well, this one on this side is going to be 25, right? That's the next biggest one. And this one down here is going to be 16. So that's 4, right? So I got 4, and I have 5, and then I have the square root of 18. Except for, guess what? Come back up here to our negative sign, so it's negative 18, it's a negative 5, and a negative 4. Now the confusing part about this, think about this, which is bigger, negative 4 or negative 5? Ooh, negative 4 is actually closer to 0, so it's actually bigger. So I'm going to say negative 4 is greater than that, which is greater than that. Do you see how the sign, the negative flipped this sign the other way? Okay, if you need to pause that and watch that again, just remember negative 4 is greater than negative 5. Okay, so that's how you know which order to put your sign in. Okay, that's how you know what order to go for. Now, we're going to keep moving on. The next thing that we do, they want you to estimate. Like they'll say, what is the square root of, I think their example here is 19. And they go through this whole way of trying to guess what the answer is. Guess what? Don't guess. This is called use your calculator. Yay. All you do is you type in the square root, however your calculator works, the square root of 19. So if you type this into your calculator and it says go to the nearest tenth, it was 4.358. So the nearest tenth is this one. So that means the answer is 4.4. Okay? So you can use your calculator. Yay! Yay for technology. No need to guess about how to get to the nearest tenth. We have calculators, and that is phenomenal. Okay? So, any question? These ones are an exercise B in the homework, 15 through 20. Okay, use your calculator. Do not try and guess by doing their system. That's just extra work. That is very not necessary with today's modern technology. Okay, now one final thing that's very important here when we do the square roots is the order of operations. Okay, you should remember this from way back, order of operations. So if they give us something that looks like this, the square root of 16 plus the square root of 9. What did I say at the very beginning? We always do what's in the square root first. Always, always, always. So I take what is the square root of 16? Well, that is 4. What is the square root of 9? That is 3. Now I drop my plus sign and I get 4 plus 3, which is 7. Yay! So that's easy, right? We just do what's in here first, then we do the sign, okay? So that's the simple one. Now let's make it a little harder. What happens if we have this right here, the square root of 16 plus 9? Now this is going to be a different answer. This is very important. Why is it going to be a different answer? Because what do we always do? We do what's inside first. So what is 16 plus 9? Well, that is 5. Now I have to bring my square root sign back. And I get the square root of 25. Sorry, not 5. 16 plus 9 is not 5. It's 25. Square root of 25 is 5. Okay? Now notice, what was our other answer? Our other one was 7. So it does matter whether or not it's inside here. The key part is you always do what's inside first. The most inside thing first. So I'm going to write that. Most inside first. Every single time you do what is most inside. Okay? So let's do another example. Like this right here. Let's say they have the square root of 72 minus 23. Okay, I come to my calculator, and what do I do first? 72 minus 23. 72 minus 23 is 49. So then I have the square root of 49, which you all can do in your heads, is 7. There's my final answer. Okay, now let's make it a little more complicated. One more thing, we got to keep all this in track in our heads. One more thing, we can have something that looks like this right here. 3 times the square root of 49. Okay, again, what do I do first? Always what's inside. So what's the square root of 49? That is 7. Now this sign right here, this 3 leaning against this, means multiplication. And that answer then would be 21. Okay, so let's do an example one like that. Let's say that I had -4 times the square root of 116 minus 35. Okay, again, what is the most interior thing to do? 116 minus 35. And when I do that, look what I get. I get 81. So now I rewrite this whole thing, -4 times the square root of 81. Now what is, I do this thing next, inside, what's the square root of 81? That is 9. So now I get -4 times 9, which is -36. And there's my final answer. Okay? So that's how all this homework is going to work. Even one of the more complex ones, which I'm going to do quickly here, and then let you know what your homework is. So what if they give us negative square root of 144 divided by 2 times the square root of 25 minus the square root of 9 in parentheses. Now, the first thing I need to do is the top, and I say, what is the square root of 144? Well, that is 12, but I have my minus sign, right? My minus sign came over there. -12 is on top. That was easy, right? Now I come down here and I say, what is the square root of 25? Well, that's 5. So now I have 2 times 5 minus what is the square root of 9? That's 3. So now I come down in here, order of operations. What is 5 minus 3? That's a solid 2. So now I have 2 times 2 on the bottom. So that now equals -12 divided by what's 2 times 2? 4. What is -12 divided by 4? Well, that is -3. And so my final answer is -3. Okay? So if you need to pause the video, I know it went fast. There's a lot to cover, but there's our lesson. So if you need to go back and pause, go for it. We are on page 453. This is 11.1, and we are doing 1 through 37 odd. 1 through 37 odd, okay? Good luck on doing that. If you have any questions, any confusion, please email me. Please let me know. Okay, that's all for today. Mr. H is over and out.